The Sea Shepherd Steve Irwin's an all-vegan vessel, so I checked out their pantry. I've come up with a few little dishes that I'd like to cook if I was on a vegan voyage. I'm Simon Bryant, I'm a chef, and welcome to the Pirate's Galley on the Sea Shepherd Steve Irwin. I've decided to do a vegan dish today, which is based on soba noodles, which are one of my favourite noodles. They're made of buckwheat, so they're gluten-free. You got to check your package if you're buying it, because quite often a lazy soba noodle will have wheat flour to make it easier. I'll just show you how to cook them in a minute, once I get the rest of the dish organised. Mushrooms are a great thing because, you know, not only are they a great source of B12, but they got a good shelf life, and you could do this dish with a dried mushroom. I'm using fresh, which would still last, I don't know, 3 weeks if they're kept nicely in newspaper. So these are the little enokis. The base where they're grown on the straw is not edible, but don't throw it out because that'll make a good stock. So I've got a pot. And put all your mushroom trim in a pot, because one of the biggest problems with veggie and vegan cooking is getting flavour into stocks, and mushrooms are a good base for a stock. So that's all you have to do with those little puppies. With the shimeji, it's much the same. You need to lose that bit. There'll be a bit of dirt and it'll be just tough, but a lot of flavour. Chuck those in the stock and they'll just fall apart. If these are all going on the same tray at the same time, the oyster mushroom's going to be way too big for cook time, so rip it into segments, and that evens it up a little bit with the size of the shimeji mushroom. And then the final thing is the shiitake mushroom. Now these are the king of mushrooms. They're the biggest flavour, they're really meaty. If you're using a dried one, you get an insane texture with them as well, but the stem's completely inedible, so get rid of that. And they'll need to be either ripped or cut into smaller pieces to bring all of the cook time in line. Chuck them on a tray, give them a bit of room, and don't forget, mushrooms are a great percentage of water, so they're going to shrink down a lot. So, you know, you might think you've got a lot of ingredients here, but when you pull it out of the oven, it'll be, I don't know, half the size. Your oil choices here are numerous, but I'm really a fan of cold-pressed oils. But olive oil is not going to take this sort of temperature in the oven. It does no favours, you're just wasting olive oil. So my best alternative is to get yourself a real peanut oil, a cold pressed oil, cold extracted. And by that I mean a lot of oils are alcohol extracted or solvent extracted. And when you taste them, they should taste like the product. This tastes like peanuts. You could use grapeseed, that'd be another good oil for this. So these are going to go in the oven in a minute and they're going to be, well, for want of better words, obliterated. This dish normally has a ponzu. The ponzu is a dipping sauce, and the base of that is dashi, which is smoked shaved tuna. So you're getting these oceanic notes to the dish. So we're going to use wakame in there instead. But what you need to do with the wakame is cut the centre out, because think of it like a tree. That's really tough. It's full of flavour, but it's also got a degree of natural agar. So we got these big, beautiful fronds with no tough centre, but because they're fresh, they need a blanch. Hopefully, all are going according to plan, they'll turn a beautiful emerald green. So get a pot of water. When it changes colour, it's done. It's 30 seconds or so. It's gone from a khaki sort of military green to quite a vibrant, not quite emerald. All right, so that's done. Don't throw your water out. Keep your wakame. Just set it aside. No need to refresh it. And pop the noodles in. Now, soba takes about 3 to 5 minutes to cook. And the thing that people do wrong with soba is they drain it and they run it under cold water to try and get rid of the starches. I run it under hot water. So you're ready for the oven now. So you've got all of your mushrooms spread out, a little bit of salt. Mushrooms, you have to season them heavier than any other vegetable. I don't know why, but they do need salt. So that's the mushies, and the wakame is getting a similar treatment. Chuck it on the tray, get your peanut oil, give it a good dose, and then both of these trays go in the oven until everything's beautiful and crispy. They're going to need a poke around. You're going to need to get in there and give them a move around now and again. And about 180 Celsius should do it. So just pop them both in the oven. All right, soba noodles, first job, 5 minutes. Strain them. Now run them under hot water until, see how they're not gluggy, they're not sticking together. You've got to wash the starch off. The buckwheat is very starchy. So grab your soba, and if it's not falling apart, if it's all clinging together too much, you've done bad. Run it under hot water more. So grab your soba and chuck it on your little, I've got a noodle mat because I'm all fancy, whatever. Now look at the mushrooms. It depends on the water content. A really well-grown mushroom will have a higher water content. It'll feel heavier. Depends how old the mushrooms are, but this is what you're trying to do. You're trying to turn them to a little bit of petrified wood. Really crispy. The little enokis have just turned into hair, and the oysters here, they're really crunchy, and the shiitakes aren't quite crunchy, but they're very chewy. So that's what you're after. Chuck them on. Now, here's the seaweed, which I reckon is a bit of a work of art. I reckon it just looks really creepy and really, really nice. So, chuck a bit of seaweed down, and then all you've got to do is make your dipping sauce. So, the balance that you're trying to achieve is quite a bit of soy. So, let's say it was for this many serves, I don't know, 180 mils. Nearly that much mirin, not quite though. And then a whack of acid, and go easy on the yuzu. If you don't have yuzu, it's fine. Use lime, use lemon, or just use vinegar. It doesn't matter. You need a pinch of white sugar. Give it a bit of a beat around to dissolve the sugar. It won't need you to boil it. Chuck it in your dipping bowl. And then you need a little bit of this number. Now this is basically called togarashi. It's hemp seed, chili, mandarin, and sesame, and something else that I've completely forgotten. But basically treat it like heat. It's chili. So chuck a bit on top. I put a little bit of white pepper in the dipper. That's just my preference. And then some spring onion greens just cut really fine across the bice. Now, the reason for the spring onion greens is this dish has been so overbaked, so worked up with flavours, pushing the wakame to its limit, pushing the mushrooms to their limit, that it needs something a little bit fresh to finish the palate. Whether you put that on the noodle itself or in the dipper doesn't really matter, as long as it gets in your mouth at some stage during the meal. Now, if you're eating this and you find it really, really lean, then you can put a splash of peanut oil back into the dipper, and again, that's my preference, but it's up to you. I know everyone's terrified of oil now, but I like it because it just coats over the noodle and gives it a bit of a wider palate. So I can't really prove to you all that this tastes okay. That's why I brought Nicola along, because she's a professional vegan toaster.
Yes.
So you've always got to put these soba mats onto a plate.
Okay.
Because my way, the cheats way, is you just get a sauce and dribble a bit over the noodle.
Wow.
The alternative way is if you're really good with your chopsticks.
We'll see.
You'll see? What? Grab a bit and dip it in to there and then slurp.
Okay.
It's not gracious.
It doesn't seem gracious.
No, it's not. And we've got a fork here for backup, just in case. So that's your noodle bit, but what I'm really interested in is what you think of the mushrooms and the seaweed, because I reckon they're the bomb.
That's wonderful.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
Thank you. It's about the soft noodle, crispy, you know, sort of that ocean flavours in the seaweed and that big earthy sort of mushroom. So I like it. But apart from being an expert vegan food critic, what do you do with Sea Shepherd?
Well, Simon, I'm actually based on shore, and I work with our donors, specifically our monthly donor program.
Yeah.
So lots of communication with supporters, making sure they're happy and yeah, basically it's all about our donors.
So if I want to support this venture, how do I do that?
It's really, really simple. You can just go onto our website at seashepherd.org.au.
Yep.
And you can donate monthly via credit card or direct debit. Simple.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
This is one of many dishes I'm going to cook. Would you come back to the Pirates Galley and give another shot?
I think I can. That would be amazing.
Okay, brilliant.